Hi all. Right, problems. Um, yeah, a rather big problem. Clumsy one. Now, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with this, but well, I need to rewind it because, yeah, it's just how I do things. If I can catch something and fix it, I will. If things have moved on that far and somebody points out something way down the line and there's nothing I can really do about it without restarting the game, then I'll just take that on board and by all means it'll be pointed out in the video and somebody can realise it was an error made there. I don't know how I want to deal with this. Now this is well, I'm not sure where this is going to be in the video footage because what happened was, and I'm sure you'll see. Well, I don't know if I'm going to just leave the video footage in because there's about an hour and a half's worth of video footage, but it discusses some. I think it goes over some quite good things. However, I'm going to have to rewind it all, and I have reset the last Japanese move and the cards back here just now, because we got it all wrong. What is it? Yeah, and right from A, we got it wrong. And I say we, I'm not including you guys. I'm meaning me. Got it wrong. And I don't know why. I think part of the bit that put me off was initially when I always looked at this, it's our Allied HQs in the Philippines and then DEI in Malaya, as if there's only two locations there. But it isn't at all, is it? It's the Philippines, Dutch East Indies, and Malaya. So there's three. There's three. But, and I should know there's three because one of the instructions that we try and, well, the initial thing that you try and do is you neutralise these Allied HQs. This is in the Philippines, this is in Malaya, and this is in the Dutch East Indies. However, this is not here at the start of the game. So you skip on by that. But then once the Allied player plays his Arcadia Conference and puts Abda in the Dutch East Indies, obviously it's putting it in there in supply, and this means that the answer to A is not yes, that they're out of supply, because Abda is in supply, so the answer is no. But it takes us a totally different direction because we want to try and do something to Abda. Because that's the priority for the Japanese, is to not allow the Allies to be able to do things, and if they've got active HQs at the moment, then it will let them do some things. So and a big blunder, and I ended up obviously going down a different rabbit hole where quite a lot happened, but I enjoyed the outcome of it all, and like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to leave the video footage in or not, or cut it. I mean, I probably should cut it, but there was quite a lot of good stuff. I was looking back at it there thinking, that was quite interesting, and also I made a big decision change within the priorities order of things, and I also sort of I made some decisions that were not really the bot's intention, but they felt like the better move, and I felt reasonably comfortable with it. Now, which was a nice feeling, because this is not something that I would generally thought I would be able to cope with, to be honest, because of the way I am. Just thinking that, oh no, I can't do that because it doesn't say that, I've got to do this. And by doing that, it made no sense, little sense, maybe, I don't know. It didn't seem quite the best move, anyway, the optimal move for the Japanese. So I'm kind of hoping I can leave that footage in there, and I'm just going to put a big note in somewhere after the Allies card play of the Arcadia Conference. That's when it starts, when it's the next Japanese card play. It's the second Japanese card play, which we're now going to have to go back and do over again. So I think I'll probably just leave it in. Now, I know some of you might sort of say, well, why bother with that? There'll be a note in the header of the video saying that if you don't want to watch the mistake, then move on to this video, which will be This will be part 4. Now, the mistake happened halfway through part 2. So you've got half of part 2, which is half an hour or so, and there's another hour's worth of part 3. And this is where I make my decision about how I go about things. And there's a lot of things that come up. And to be honest, I've not actually watched back on that video, because while I was watching back on the second video, I realised where the mistake, and I was like, oh no. I recorded a whole hour and a half over above this and not realised. And, well, yeah, this is a problem, and I think... I'm annoyed with myself with that one, though, because that's not an error that was buried in the rules that I might have struggled to understand and somebody else maybe pointed out to me. It's quite a simple one, you know. And I've also done the example of play through, and you know, this is a procedure it does. It first knocks out Manila and Singapore, the Philippines and Malaya, and then it moves on to ABDA, because that's exactly what the Allied player does. He places ABDA with the Arcadia Conference, and then Erasmus on the Japanese side then goes and takes ABDA out. So yeah, very clumsy, and yeah. So like I say, you might not see the part before. You could have the option to skip onto this part if you don't want to watch something that's not going to actually happen. But I'd like to think I'm going to leave it in, because I found that I'll look over it again to be safe, and make sure. But I thought it was quite interesting to see how it went about it. And who's to say that the third Japanese card play might actually do what I was talking about here? So, you know, I suppose there is that as well. But I'll see. I've not 100% made my mind up regarding what to do about that part, but obviously I need to fix this part. And I would have started slightly earlier today and knocked over my tripod, and a bit broke on the bit that holds the phone, and it's because it's spring loaded. It was broken, you know. And I thought, well, I could try and super glue it, but because it's on a spring, I thought, would that even hold it? But it does seem to have done the job. It was a nice clean break, and it looked like it glued together nicely. So fingers crossed. Or I might need to look into getting a new bit for that. But it's working fine just now. So I reset things back to the start of the second Japanese card play. There was a few units that had moved about, and well, if I leave that bit of footage in and you watch it, you'll see what happened. But I've reset them since then, and we've got the operation. Well, actually, yeah. So that kind of tells you that's going to be the card play, isn't it? Which it should be. It's the next card play in line, and but let's just start again and go through the procedure and see what we should be doing, you know. Okay, so let's try again. Axis of determination, opening phase. A. Are Allied HQs in the Philippines, DEI and Malaya out of supply? Well, no they're not, because we've got ABDA, and let's say that was a mistake. So no takes us on to C plus D. C, does Japan have 3 or more cards? It has 6, so yes. Does Japan control less than 13 resource sets? It only controls 4, so yes. So C plus D is a yes. So it does take you to another F, whereas actually we came down here before and ended up in this F, I think. That's an F up there, because I thought, would it have mattered if we'd went in the same way? But yeah, it does, because this goes either aggressive or conservative southern resource strategy, whereas these two go aggressive or conservative air superiority strategy. And they're totally different things, because we're trying to knock out the air unit in Chat to get ABDA out supply, so we need air units. Whereas what the rabbit hole we did go down was none of that. It was a bit of amphibious assault units. Yeah, well, and just in case I don't leave the footage in, it ended up with DEI neutralization, which was I hope I'm going to leave it in. Although yeah, it might mean we're going to come to this at some point, and then it means going over it again, I suppose. Well, you know what? We'll see how we get on, and I can make my decision yet. These videos haven't been uploaded yet, so we've only got part 1 and part 2 out there. So, alright, I must be talking rubbish. This must be part 5. Yeah, I've got part 1 and part 2 already out there, which only covers the first card play, Japanese. And then it's halfway through part 3, because part 3 starts with Arcadia Conference card for the Allies. And then halfway through that video is where I then go on to card 2 for the Japanese, and then this is where I make my mistake. So it's that'll be the second half of part 3 and all of part 4, assuming I leave it in. So this will actually be part 5. Oh dear. Okay. I wonder if there's anybody out there, to be honest. I mean, I watch Batman, and I'm not like thinking that I'm making wonderful videos or anything like that, but I think these are the kind of videos I like watching, as long as you've got an interest in the game, you know. And that's why I created a couple of these videos, because I wanted a serious look at the game with as least amount of rules, mistakes as possible. You know, try and play the game properly. And I know a lot of people maybe don't care about that. And when you're playing solo, does it really matter? Well, it does to me, but you know, you play your game the way you want to play it, you know, by all means. But yeah, I look for some sort of in-depth sort of look into how to play these games solo, and well, whether my videos are in-depth or they're just a bit nonsense or not, I don't know. Anyway, it's how it's going to be, so no doubt some folk have come and started watching and thought, right, that's enough of that. We'll forget about that guy. That daft Scottish guy. Anyway. Right. So yeah, so we're on this F now, but obviously F is still the F, and this is checking the logistics value. And if we remember, it was 17, so is logistics evaluation value 20 or more? It is not. So we're actually doing a conservative air superiority strategy, whereas the first... no, did we do the same? Yeah, we would have done the same, because that's based on the logistics value. In the example at play, it had more than 20, so it always went to this one. So this is a conservative air superiority strategy. So, and then we don't need to move too far to see that requires neutralising allied HQs. Then if we've got more activations, DEI surrender, and then Malaya surrender. So, but first of all, our first priorities are going to be within the neutralised allied HQs. And we have done the Philippines, we have done Singapore, but we've not done Abda. So we want to try and take Abda with a riskier 0.5x result, so a half times result. And the wee note 7, just as a reminder, this is the bit that tells you about so it's air naval attacks you want. So execute air naval attacks with enough strength to eliminate enemy AZOI units covering HQs in the objective, or the specific HQ with the indicated damage level. Here's the bit I was talking about as well. After that it says, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ during post-battle movement. Well, if you remember, that's what actually happened in the Malaya HQ, wasn't it? These air units were at 3 range, which they're entitled to still get their full combat values from range 3. But they don't then, as an air zone of influence only stretches out 2 hexes, but they were able to post-battle move. Well, sorry, this one was. The other one went up there and done quite a good move as well, I thought. That one come down there, and then it was. So that was within post-battle movement. So, yes, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ during post-battle movement. Well, it's kind of saying that. Well, no, it's not really actually. What that's actually saying is, if we can't get near this HQ, but say we could knock out this base here, we could take this to then have and then move an air unit down to then put it in AZOI. So I think it's that, but something similar, because we were able to move that in position. Anyway, okay. Right, so we know our target, our first target. So that is Abda. And so just looking briefly before we find what card we're using, but I've kind of gave the show away there. But to be honest, it's the next card in line that I don't think it's going to change once we go through the selection process. But we'll see. So this is a 9, but it's full strength. So we need 18 points of combat strength to eliminate it. However, we're looking to go as far as a half times result. So that would need 36. Although it might be... Yeah, because it's the way it divides it down, doesn't it? You actually take the number and then you quarter it or half it. No, I think that is still... No, it's not. It's 35, actually. It's because you always round up, isn't it? So 35 divided by 2 is 17.5. And then you round it up. And that's why you're allowed to get 35. Whereas you would think, obviously, a half of 36 is 18, and that's what we need, 18. But you can actually get to 35 and still achieve the 18 result. So anyway, that's how it works. Right, so that's what we know. That's what our first target is. And yeah, we'll come back to the other ones because it's more than likely we're going to be able to do a bit more than that. So we want... Well, we do still need to look at card selection, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's going to come out to the same card, but... Okay, let's have a look. So here's card selection, and then the start, arrange the cards, right, we've done all that, right. Have any cards been played this offensive phase? Well, yes. Yes, let's just say by yes. B, does the hand currently hold more than 2 cards? Yes. Down to C, is this the very first card this game? No. Down to E, is there an unrestricted military event available to play? No. Down to F, and F has a wee note to which, right, well, I've already went through this, I suppose, but I suppose just in case I decide to cut that footage out. It's not really relevant, this wee note, but it's got to be there. It says, for the purpose of these evaluations, card operation MI should not be considered unless the Japanese Erasmus is still in the opening phase, axis of determination, and the strategy is Central Pacific or defensive perimeter, or its only remaining military event card available to play that can fulfill the objectives. So we don't have that card in our hand, so we don't have any military events in our hand, so it's not relevant just now. So F was, and F is there a restricted military event? Well, I've already said there's no military events at all. So it is no, so it's non-military event OC strategy. And there is a note 3, and well, this is a little bit that kind of confuses me slightly, but it's not brought up any major issues yet, but I've got the feeling where you could be in a position where you're not sure which one to pick, because it says here, use the first card in the sorted order you performed for the cards at the beginning of the offensives. But up there on the non-military event OC strategy box, which is what we're doing, if you look, I mean, it's just beside it, to be honest, right down the bottom right hand corner here, non-military event OC strategy, the criteria is pick the card with the highest OC value. So, you know, could these not be different is what I'm thinking, and I kind of think they could, but I could be wrong, because every time, the 2 or 3 times I've tested this, they've actually been right. But I'll just go all across to the cards and show you what I mean again. Yeah, so there's the 6 cards. This is the next card in line. So yeah, this is the card we're going to use. Now it also says pick the card with the highest OC value. Well, these 2 cards have the highest OC value with a 3. So you could just say, well, this one's the next one in line anyway, so let's take that. But my sort of wondering is, say this card's not here. Say we played this, or say next turn we arrive at this position. Do we play this card, which is the next card in line? Or do we play this, which is the highest? Now, the thing is, this could be where this last 2 cards part comes into it, and that's why you wouldn't consider playing these, because these get kept to the end. And I think that's the reason, and I think that's why it kind of like has 2 different sort of use the first card in sorted order, and then pick the highest card, which is always going to be, because you lay them out in order, and you lay them from highest to lowest until you get to the last 2 cards, which could be a different mix, I think. But I'm still not 100% sure about all this last cards bit, and maybe someday will straighten that out completely for me. However, that is the card that we're going to play, so there's no change in that. So we've got our first priority target, we've got the card that we want to use, so now we've got to create our task force for that target. Okay, well, let's see about what our task force is going to... Well, I mean, we do need to pick an HQ as well, and whatever. But let's just get down to what our task force is wanting to be comprised of. So start, right, that has the wee 1 there, so yeah, it's worthy of reading again. Create a force per this chart for each target determined by the Axis determination chart. If OC offensive and 1 battle hex has already been designated, only consider unoccupied targets. Then 2 card combinations that puts more ground, air, then naval closer to the next highest priority target. Well, yeah, this will come in at this time, because this is an OC card we're playing. So we're only going to be able to create 1 battle hex. And we are going to create a battle hex in Chawat. So any other targets that we can try and go for after that are going to have to really be unoccupied. Or then consider this 2 card combo thing where we're moving units to a position, whereas next time the strategy that we want to use, the units in a better position. That's probably going to be beyond me to be doing that. But you never know. I might come to a point where I realise that, I could move that there, and then next card play, that would make it, I can maybe start seeing moves like that, but I'd rather stay away from that if I could. Okay, so, and then on to A. Is this an air naval attack on the target? Well, yes, it is. So we move on to air raid, and then from air raid, air raid says, top right there, force is going to be air, naval, and carriers. And then again, it talks about when choosing units, pick enough units for air parity if possible. That's not really coming into it just yet. So, and then activate units for the target, notes 3 and 4. Right. I'll maybe stop going down to the notes if I've read them already, because that's just going to become a bit tedious, or certainly not swing the camera down. I might read it myself. So this is the one that you've got to achieve the damage level if possible, and you fail in that, you activate as many units as possible, and then you've got to also consider if a reaction is possible, take that into account. And that was a little bit that brought up a bit of a challenge, didn't it? Yeah, I remember the fact that is reaction possible, and you look at it, well, you've got to take that into account when you're creating your force, so you've got to maybe create more strength. But then when you get down to that, here's a good point, actually. We're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to be able to do a smothering attack this time. So, okay, maybe that's why that's built in then. Yeah. Interesting, yeah. Maybe I never really thought about that. Because, like I say, the it's note 3 is telling you that if reaction is possible, take into account enemy reaction forces that can reach the target to calculate the strength required. So that's basically saying add some more strength because that guy's going to be able to come along. However, the last situation we got like that, we had the smothering attack where we could just go and pin the unit and create another battle hex. However, this time we cannot create a second battle hex. So we would have to do it, create more strength. Yeah, okay. I never thought about that. So maybe that's why that is the way it is. Yes. So if you know you can create a second battle hex, then move on and do the smother and attack maybe, rather than bring the extra strength. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so we want to activate the units for the target, and then I is going to ask us, are there enough activations to fulfill the battle support criteria? Which is the which is this still slightly confusing to me. Air raid, none. It's as if there's no requirement and it's just an automatic yes. But surely you need to bring something along. I don't know. I'm clearly just not reading that right, and it probably is read. It's probably written just the way it should be written, and it's just getting over the top of me somehow. So you need to know, are there enough activations? There should be. I mean, the cards are 3 OC cards. We're going to have at least 4 activations, so you would think so. And then, yeah, I mean, maybe I should go and do this and come back to that, but I was just jumping ahead there a wee bit. And then, has the damage level for the target been achieved? So hopefully that, I would imagine that's going to be the case too. And then, so then we would move, then we would, that was the damage level. Has the damage level been achieved? Then we move the targets, to the target. And okay, so let's go and find the HQ we're going to activate and what units that we might want to be trying to do that with. Okay, so just looking at things initially there and just pondering on what I might be wanting to try and achieve. This is slightly trickier, this situation, because we don't control any of these air bases down here, any of these cities. We control none of them, so it's not going to be possible at all, I don't think, to get any air units into a place where even at long range, extended range, they can do anything. I don't think. I mean, these do have an extended range of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even that, sitting where it is, doesn't stretch right down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, see that? They're the 2 closest hexes we've got to Shoat Jap that we control, and they're both 6 hexes away. So I don't think there's any air units that even extended to 6. I think the Allies have the bombers, but I don't think the Japanese have any of them. So that then means that we're looking to bring naval units along. Yeah, because air units can't attack in the hex. They can't. I can't. If I could fly it down here, which I couldn't even do that anyway. They need to be attacking from range. Now carriers are option. They can stay at range, or they can move into the hex. And the benefits to moving into the hex are that they're then bringing air. If they've got air in the battle hex, does that not come down to the... That comes down to a ground battle, doesn't it? So that's not relevant to what we're doing. We're not going to have a ground battle here. It's just about taking that air unit out. So there's not any point in actually moving carriers into the hex. However, naval and then normal naval units that don't have range can just go right into the hex. So, yeah, so what did I say we needed to create a task force of 35? But however, because we can't do the smother and attack this time, as we've found out, so yeah, that does start making more sense with that. Because if you knew units could react and you knew you could create another battle hex, then you don't need to worry about your strength. But here we do, because we can only create this one battle hex here. So what else do we need to worry about? Well, this unit's reduced. If it goes into the battle hex, now it could react. It's in supply, it can be activated by Abda, it could move into that hex. However, it's only a one-step unit. So we can ignore that. We can hit the air unit once and then hit the air unit a second time. If we've got damage left over, we could hit that, but we don't care about that, you know, so that one's not relevant. if this could react across here, it's the same as a reduced heavy cruiser at the glance there. And so, I mean, if it could reach the battle hex, which it may well be able to, and react, then we wouldn't care about it either. But, however, this Dutch light cruiser could cause a problem because he can move into the hex. Now, yes, we can hit the air unit first. We can deal it 9 points of damage, and that'll flip it to its one step side. But then we can't deal it another 9 points of damage because it's on a single step side, and the Dutch cruiser would not be hit yet, and you're not allowed to do that. So they both have to go down to one step before you can then finish the Dutch cruiser off, the Dutch air unit off. So, and that way we would need 9, 18 to finish that off, and we would need another 8 just to reduce this to one step. So 18 plus 8 is 26, and we want to have a half times result on 26. So, which is, where are we? 51. I mean, obviously 26 and 26 is 52, but you can get away with 51 here for a half times. So that's how much strength that we need, and unless anything else can react, which there's not. I mean, the only other thing the Allies have got is an air unit away up north, but and we eventually realise this bomber, whether it could get across there or not, I don't know. Well, maybe it could. But actually, he's a single step as well, so we could just ignore him as well. However, he's not in supply because he doesn't cancel out the zone of influence. So we sussed that one out eventually. So yeah, I think it's just that. I think it's just the Dutch light cruiser that we need to concern ourselves with, and it adds that extra 8. So we need 51 points of strength. Now we roll a quarter result here with this, and that could then end up in a failure if we only bring 51 points, and we're only required to bring that 51. If we can keep it to exactly 51, that's all required to bring. So that's what we need to do strength wise. This is the card we're using, and obviously this is it's not a military event card. We're using it for the OC value. It's got a 3 OC, so none of this is relevant. The only other thing that's relevant is the 5, which is what the Allies would need to roll for reaction. Less than. That or less than. They might also get the -2 well, they are going to get the -2 modifier because we are going to move into an enemy AZOI, and whether it's neutralised or not does not matter. Okay, so and right, well, we've got 3 activations with the card. So what HQ are we going to use for this? And what units are we wanting to use? So yeah, I'd like to be bringing stuff down. I mean, I was looking, well, if that video's still in there, we use the combined fleet to make that move and to try and get these guys down. I mean, we've got this air unit way up here, but that's far too far to get down to Chalak though, isn't it? There's even, extended range is 4, but I mean, it's only getting 3 hops of 4, so that's not any good. So I don't think any of the air units up that way would get down. However, would any of the naval units? Let me count out some range here. Yeah, just a quick count there tells me that there is a naval unit in there, and there's a bunch in here, but they've not got the range to get down 15 hexes away to get within range of Chalak. So that's not really going to be any good either. However, it doesn't mean that we can't use a combined fleet to use activation as the HQ, because remember, it can stretch out 13 hexes to activate. So I mean, these 2 naval units here, for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, I mean, we can stretch out there and grab they two. This one, we could get this air unit, whether it's got the range enough to get down there or not. Oh, well, why am I talking about air units? Because I've already said that air units aren't any good to us, are they? There's no place that we could put an air unit that... oh, wait a minute though. Yeah, we're going to have a problem here. I'm not sure how we deal with this, because I'm saying we've not got any air units that could come down and have a go at that at Chwat, which is right. We don't have any air bases but we don't have any ports either. So we can't. Come the end of the battle, we're going to have to post-battle move our carriers away, and also our any other naval units that attack the Hex, which is then going to leave Abda still in supply, isn't it? But I'm not sure there's anything we can do about that, because you can't just leave a carrier in the middle of the water. I don't believe it. I think it's got to end up in a port, isn't it? I mean, I can move it to here and then do the attack, and then I've got to move it back to a port. So, yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? Is there anything I'm missing there that I should be doing? I think the one thing that brings you back to is that note 7, which is attached to neutralising Allied HQs, which says, we execute air naval attacks with enough strength to eliminate enemy AZOI units covering HQs in the objective, or the specific HQ with the indicated damage level, and then, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ during post-battle movement. Right, I don't know. I mean hang on though, Grant. I mean, that means we've got to have a base within 2, or a port. Some of the carriers have got range of 3, haven't they? A port within 3, well that's within 2, and that's within 2, and that's actually 1 away. That's not a port. Yeah, okay. I'm a bit stuck here then. I mean, well, shouldn't you just have a look at what was it they done in the playthrough here? I know that's kind of a cop-out, but I'm just unsure how to proceed. I mean, I know I can bring a force along to take the air unit out, assuming we roll a half times result, of course. But I'm then going to have to post-battle move away, leaving Abda in supply. Which is really not... we're trying to neutralise it, which means we're trying to knock it out of supply, I believe. Okay, let's just having a glance back at the playthrough that I made of the example I played, just to see how this situation was dealt with. And it was a similar situation. They had Balak Papan here, the Japanese, and I think they had both of these. But these are still, again, they couldn't bring air units down to make an attack on Chwat. What they did have was they had a military event card, so they were able to create more battle hexes. They were able to get an air unit in here and pin the Dutch cruiser from reacting, which we can't do because we don't have this. But then once it's achieved the strength and it moves the units in, it doesn't have a base to at the end of the combat to be able to keep the Abda HQ out of supply. when it initially makes the move for the tax. But however, if we go to our next, if we, you know, let's just say we are able to use the combined fleet here. No, let's not. Let's just say that we have to use the South HQ. So we're looking at only 4 activations, which that might be limiting. It might be that the combined fleet is really what we want to be. So because we're probably going to need, I think we're going to need 3 naval units down here for that, aren't we? What did I say we needed? 51. Yeah, more than likely. In fact, 3 might not even cut it, because they did lose that big, what was it, in Nagato, which was 20 strength. However, if it can get enough and still have some activations left over, we would then look at the next target. And within that aggressive air... No, not aggressive. It was conservative air superiority, wasn't it? Yeah. So, which is neutralise allied HQs. So if we had that set up to neutralise ABDA, although, like I say, I mean, when it says neutralise, is there a... Neutralise to me kind of means putting it out supply, I would have thought. But if we just come down with naval units there, knock the air unit out, or does, hang on, does neutralise more mean so that it doesn't have an air zone of influence? Yeah, that could be the meaning of it there. Yeah, I've had the wrong thinking of that, I think, because that note 7 attached to neutralising allied HQs says execute air naval attacks with enough strength to eliminate enemy AZOI units covering HQs in the objective or the specific HQ with the indicated damage level there. So it's not actually saying put an AZOI round the HQ, put your AZOI round the HQ as well, or, you know, it's not saying that. It's saying eliminate the allied AZOI. And then the last sentence says, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ during post-battle movement. Now, well, that is saying, I mean, why is that saying if necessary? If necessary. I'm not sure. I mean, if we go down there and eliminate the air unit, and then have to post-battle move away from ABDA and not be able to, clearly not be able to have an AZOI ourselves round it, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ. I'm not sure why it's saying if necessary. I mean, that's a bit... It's not really directing you anywhere, that, is it? Yeah, I'm a little unsure of that. Okay, so, yeah. But I think the whole thing of that is, the main thing is to eliminate the air unit. We don't need to finish off by AZOI. Now, I would think that's what you want to try and do. And because our next priority, our next strategy within conservative air superiority strategy is DEI neutralisation, that's the one that we moved on to, wasn't it? So that's like, the first target is Joe Macassar, and this is what I actually done to Lot Baton. Now see, I mean, this is something of interest, but Joe was the first priority. So if we do have any activations left over, we shouldn't really be saying, well, if we took Talotbaton, right? If we were able to take this port and airbase, I could not only move my carrier unit into there, AZOI and over Chwatjap, I could possibly activate an air unit just for the sake of it and actually fly it down there post-battle move, couldn't I? I mean, I don't think I would have the activations to randomly just activate an air unit just for the heck of doing that. But any carriers that we brought down here at the battle, if we have control of that hex at the end of the battle, we can post-battle move to it. But that's the third down the list of DEI neutralization. Hey. And the other thing is I can't consider, attacking here because we can only create one battle hex. So I could amphibiously assault this, although the worry there is this would be moving into an enemy AZOI and they would have a chance of special reaction there. And that goes down the other road to that, doesn't it? It was different through the playthrough. What the Erasmus actually done was it did bring carriers. It mentioned the fact that it couldn't get air units down to within range of Chwatjap. So it brought its naval units in there, and I think it had a carrier or two within range. But then when it went on to its next strategy, it was DEI surrender, and Balak Papan had already been taken, and Tarakan had already been taken. So they're the first two priorities. And then the next priority, it was Batavia, and I think Batavia was empty. So all it did was amphibiously move a unit into Batavia, and then after the battle, it took the air unit out, and then it post-battle moved its units into Batavia, keeping the air's AZOI over Chwatjap. I'm not going to be able to do that. The one place I could do it in was here, and whether this, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ during post-battle move. Do you think that's directing that sort of move? Maybe. Just wish it didn't say if necessary. I wish it elaborated more and said what it's meaning there, because it's not saying we need an AZOI over the HQ, is it? It's saying we need to eliminate the enemy AZOI. Right, I've been paused for quite some time now. Sometimes I think I'm going to have to do that with this game. Just step away and try and think about things. So I tried to look up a bit more about what neutralising allied HQs is all about, and this note 7, where it says if necessary. And I came across a post by Mark Herman regarding strategies to DEI neutralisation. I think that the post is titled DEI neutralisations, and he tries to explain what's going on here and that. He does make a lot of good posts and trying to help and understand the things and that, which is great. But I get the impression that following through that post that he made, and it talks about taking Philippines HQ out and Malayan HQ out, and then obviously the Allies. He's actually playing Erasmus with both bots, and then the Allied side, Erasmus plays Arcadia Conference and puts Abda in, and this is where I went off and made my mistake. But obviously then you need to consider Abda, because that's part of the neutralised Allied HQs. So then he talks about how to deal with that. But his hand also ends up under the 20 logistics value. So he does go down the same road of DEI neutralisation. Whereas if you get over the 20 logistics value, you end up in aggressive air superiority strategy, which moves down to DEI surrender. Once you've done the neutralise allied HQs, and that's how the playthrough, the example of play went, didn't it? And he explains that if you do take the historical start for the Japanese, I think it's very likely you're going to end up with over 20 logistics values, so you are going to go down that tree. DI surrender's slightly different, obviously. And he explains a bit of that, and I get the hang of that, and it was also talked about. I read another post somewhere about putting zones of influence, having what is it they say in the CDSS, air zone of influence network, so you've got them all linked up so that you're blocking everything. Yeah. So I think that's what the idea of the 4 targets in the DI, which are empty, and they all link up and create this sort of like big network of where we can't trace supply or activation through, So where am I going with this? Well, there was 2 things. Maybe 3 things. According to what he's saying, it seems that you do actually want to. What neutralise does actually mean putting an AZOI over the HQ. So let's just read note 7 again, which is attached to obviously the neutralise allied HQs. I know I feel like I'm going over this, but I just need to try and understand what's happening here. It could just more than likely just me the way I'm reading it, but so we've got, that's note 7 down the bottom there. Execute air naval attacks with enough strength to eliminate enemy AZOI units covering HQs in the objective or the specific HQ with the indicated damage level. Right, I completely understand that, but we want to take out that air unit that's got its zone of influence around Abda and Chawatchat. And we want to bring an indicated damage level. And the indicated damage level is the number of strength we need to eliminate the unit, going on a half result on the dice. And then the bit that was confusing me, I suppose, was the next sentence, which says, if necessary, capture a base to put AZOI over the HQ during post-battle movement. Yeah. It's funny, I read it again after reading that latest post that I've just seen, came across from Mark Herman. And I thought maybe I should just read that sentence again, and I think I'm picking it up wrong there. Because I'm thinking, if necessary, what is my necessity? What am I doing? If necessary, what am I doing? But it says, it's basically saying that if you've not got an AZOI over the HQ, then capture a base and make that happen, I think. If necessary, capture a base to put an AZOI over the HQ. I think also having the during post-battle movement part at the end. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it knows. We've already said that we can eliminate. Just looking at Abda here, we can bring a force along to eliminate the air unit in Abda, right? But we've no place to go to put an AZOI over it. There's no port. We've not got a friendly port within some of the carriers. We've got a range of 3. If we had a port, if we had this port, or if we had this port, they're within 3 of that. That's not a port, right? And I think, well, maybe not all the carriers have a range of 3. I don't know. They might well do. But then also, or an air unit. You know, we could have the air unit's got a range of 3. We could have this one, 1, 2, 3, and then we're putting. You know, we've not got that option. So that's why it's saying, if necessary, capture a base. So we want to capture one of these bases so that we can end up post-battle moving a unit into one of these hexes to then have an AZOI over to that chap. So yeah, I think, yeah, that feels much better to me now. I think and reading his post, it seemed to me that he was suggesting that not only do you want to remove the allied air zone of influence, but at the end you want to have your own air zone of influence. And to be honest, that's what I actually thought was the case. It's just reading that, because I mean, that's what we achieved in Manila, and that's what we achieved in Singapore, and we left air units there to cover it and lock it all up. And yeah, okay, so I understand that, right? And if that's my thinking, now also reading his post, I found a spanner in the works. That is not something I'd thought about. So if that's what we want to achieve, and it seems to be the case, because he carries on saying that, I mean, I'd probably like to read all the post out to you, but there's quite a lot there. But this is the bit that was relevant to me. So what he's saying is, we can remove that air unit there, taking the allied air zone of influence away. So let's just say we, Talot Baton, we are able to take that within this offensive as well, which we'll come back to, because I think this is an area where you've got to look ahead and you've got to make these decisions. And okay, I knew I would find all this tricky, but I'm actually enjoying the thought of looking ahead to this. I'm actually quite, yeah, I'm quite into it actually. For now, when it starts getting a bit heavier, we will see. So let's just say that we've got the ability to amphibiously land a unit into here with a naval unit, bring some naval units into here, destroy that the air units in there, and then post-battle move a carrier into here. Or an air unit. Like I said, I think an air unit I think it's impossible for an air unit. Well, you know what? It's not impossible. And if you had lots of activations, it'd be fine, because this guy can actually go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into here. And one other thing I came across recently. See, when you're moving, you can move through friendly units with air and naval units. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Because something I hadn't quite thought about. But yeah, I'm pretty sure air and naval units can actually move through enemy units. I don't think that's the case with ground units. That would sound a bit off. So anyway, so yeah, that air unit could, but we would have to activate this and then post-battle move it into here once we capture that. And it's an extra activation, whereas if you got a carrier right in here, or not right in here, maybe just in range, and then after post-battle it goes into here, then it's already done, it's already activated to do the attack, and then it can post-battle move back, whereas this air unit can't be involved in the attack because there's no place for it to start its attack from. We've not got any of these air bases yet, and it's only afterwards we would have this air base. Right, I'm sure you get the gist of that. So, and here's the thing, I thought, well, yeah, okay, that's good. So if we do that, then the air unit's away. There's no allied air zone of influence. There's a Japanese air zone of influence. Abda's out of supply. Well, no, it's not. And I didn't think about this at all, but I'm sure you guys that know the game know this, that you can Although there's an air zone of influence around that, that's only when you're tracing sea supply. So an HQ can trace over land to a port and then trace sea supply. So if we've got an air unit or carrier unit or whatever in there, it's exerting its zone of influence into this hex. It's not exerting it into this hex, or more importantly, it's not exerting it into this hex. So we trace our supply over land through this hex into this port that we control and then away. So, and I never even considered that. So that's how I am with the game. So there you go. So what you, in actual fact, are going to have to do is do something about this hex and this hex. Yeah, I think... And actually, what he actually says is, he doesn't talk about this hex, but what he says is, you would end up then needing to capture Talotbatong and Bajamasin. And I'm assuming that is because... let me put that out of the way. I'm assuming that's because that once we've completed, which is at the moment our priority target is Abda HQ, and we're trying to neutralise that. Okay, which I still feel like I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody tell me here. Neutralising an HQ. It seemed to me where I read it was removing the friendly AZOI round about it. But I could quite possibly have that wrong because of that note 7 and what I've just read from Mark Herman's post there, that it might be a combination of you're removing its friendly AZOI and you're putting an enemy's AZOI over it. So if somebody hears that question, just say, tell me if I've got that correct, or is that not is a priority just to remove the friendly AZOI that it's got? I'm starting to think it's both. Well, to be honest, I actually thought it was both from the start, but I think with my reading of neutralise allied HQs, yeah, I mean, well, it's all in note 7, isn't it? It's all in note 7 here, where it says, note 7 says, execute air naval attacks with enough strength to eliminate enemy AZOI units covering HQs in the objective with indicated damage level. It's that first sentence that tells you that. However, the second sentence seems to be part of it, doesn't it? Yeah, this is it, Grant. This is it. So I think it is twofold. Okay. Right, and wait, let's just go with that one for now. So if we're trying to do this as a priority, we've now, let's just say we've activated enough units to achieve this. Well, after that, after neutralising allied HQs with our conservative air superiority, we would want to do DEI neutralisation, and that's the box up here. And these are the priority orders, although I now think I'm going to have to sort of say, well, they're the priority orders, but you might want to change up how you're doing them depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. And I think this is what I ended up doing. If you do happen to watch my failed part, what was it? Second half of part 3 and part 4, which I'm just decided I'm going to leave in with a note to say that if you don't want to watch something that's going to have to get reset, then just move on to part 5. But I end up doing these out of order because it makes sense. It doesn't. I can't do one of them. One of them's going to be the wrong. Well, that brings the other thing. And one of them's actually going to be a special reaction, but it shouldn't be because we should be taking Abda out, and it's Abda and that air unit that's given the special reaction. So that's where the mistake all goes to. Anyway, So they're the four targets, and although Jola is the one that you want to do first, then it depends on things. So I think that's why Mark talks about. So he's in this position. I believe he's in a similar position to this. Now because he discusses about what card he's going to choose first, and he starts off with a military event card so he can create more battle hexes. But it ends up, I won't go right, you need to read that post if you want to. But it ends up changing that choice. Now, I was a bit confused about how he changed it, if that was his decision or if it was Erasmus that decided upon that. But ended up he brought an OC card along. So that's exactly the situation we're in, because we've got an OC card, and the problem with the OC card, although it maybe brings, it guarantees you the 3. I think the military event card was only a 2, and the OC card, obviously, that he was bringing along was a 3, and that on top of he was able to activate Combined Fleet, which we're kind of hoping for. I mean, I've just put a 4 on it, I think, because I think that's how I've done it, just to see. But I think Combined Fleet then ends up with 6 activations, which I think I'm probably going to need in this situation. So then he's got his 6 activations. He's got enough to come down here and take out Abda. And then his comments are that what he needs to do on top of that is take Talot Baton and Banja Mazin. Now, both the targets are part of the DEI neutralisation, which is his secondary objective, if you like. But they're totally out of order because, and I mean that in a way that, the sequence of them. Joe is the first one, that's up here, but that does no good to what we're trying to achieve here. So let's move on. Macassar is the next one. Again, that doesn't help us to achieve. So what's the next one? Talot Baton. Right, now that would then enable us to post-battle move units into here to put an AZOI over here. Right, good. But then, as it's been pointed out to me, that's not enough, because then he traces land across here into this port and away. So what we need to do is lock up Sorabaja as well. So how about taking Bajamasin, which is the 4th target in the DI neutralisation. So if we can take this and deal with Abda, we've completely achieved our main objective of neutralising this Allied HQ, and we've also achieved 2 parts of DEI neutralisation. And I think that's the way you have to look at it. I mean, I would be me in my way of looking at things would say, oh no, you can't do Talot Baton and Bajamasin because they're 3rd and 4th priority, Grant. You've got to do Joe and Macassar first. Well, and again, I actually made the decision, and that failed video part 4, I actually made the decision, and I did choose them out of order, and I think that's what you've got to do. Yes, it doesn't sit comfortably with me the way I like to solo game, but this is a different beast from anything that I've played solo, so I think I knew this was going to happen, and there's more to come. There's a lot more to come if I can get through it. So that was really interesting to see all that, and I get the impression that that's how you should be looking at it. And I just need to do that, look at the next part and see if that can help me achieve my objective. Now, what if the next part had nothing to do with helping me with neutralising Abda? I don't know. Or here's the thing. If I couldn't achieve any of that, if all I could do was maybe attack Chawatjap and take the air unit out without being able to gain leave a unit and have an enemy air zone of influence around Abda, is that still to be considered as a valid sort of move? I mean, we are eliminating the enemy AZOI covering the HQ. However, we're not enabling an AZOI over the HQ after post-battle movement. So, I don't know. I mean, part of me, I suppose, thinks that, yeah, you would still do that. It just means next turn, Abda is still going to be in supply and it's going to be able to activate this Dutch unit and the Dutch... Well, the Dutch air unit wouldn't be there, but it's going to be able to do this and, yeah. So, yeah, interesting. And worrying that I've got to... There's an awful lot more I'm going to have to think about to run Erasmus. Now, yeah, I understand Mark Herman talking about it this way, but I'm sure he's played this game a few times. And in fact, I think he even comments at the beginning that the amount of times that he started the 1942 campaign and played Erasmus and just different card start combinations and just seeing how it all goes. So yeah, once you've done that a thousand, maybe not, possibly 100 or so times, maybe more, then maybe, you know, these things are going to sort of kick in and you're going to realise what you should do. And yeah, okay. Right, well, let's see if I can put any of that into operation then and actually do what I've just tried to say I'm going to do. So, yeah, I just put the 4 on that, I think, because I was just looking at it and we were just activating South HQ to see what we could do. But I definitely feel like we do need to turn this into a 6, which means that we're using combined fleet and we're getting 3 from the card and 3 efficiency rating from combined fleet. And yes, I did have to look at my piece of paper there. So yeah, and just hopefully that's got enough range to be able to pick up the units we want. Because now what we want to do, and remember we're in the same position as what he was and using an OC card, so it's not that we can, you know, I can target this because this is involved too. If we remember, did we not come up where we needed 35 points of damage to take out their unit? However, this could react, so we needed to take that into consideration. I think it ended up being 51 points damage we needed to do. Well, we need it that way because we can only create 1 battle hex, and the battle hex has got to be there. So, however, Talot Baton and Bajamasin, right, are not occupied. So we could do that, I think. And I think that's what we want to try and do, all within this offensive. So what we want to do is bring enough strength to destroy this, land a unit here, and land a unit here. Yeah. And yeah, and I think I'll just go ahead and try and do that. And I'm just hoping that somebody's going to watch these and, you know, please let me know if... I mean, I want to try and follow things properly, and I understand it's not as straightforward as any stuff that I've done before where you're completely following a solitaire AI system and, you know, doing something like I'm talking about would be a mistake. But I still want somebody to say, well, I wouldn't have interpreted it like that. I would have said you should do that, or I would have said you could do that or that, you know? And then I could maybe say, well, I could have rolled the dice there, but I think we do need to occupy these 2 hexes so that we can post-battle move. I mean, thing is, maybe we are going to activate that air unit then. If we've got 6 activations now, it's possible. But my guess is we definitely need naval support coming down to Talot Baton, because this is a special reaction, isn't it? Because of the air zone of influence. Bajamasin is not, So we could just activate one ground unit to amphibiously assault here. We'd need 2 units for here. That's 3. I reckon we need 3 naval units for Chawatchap though. So unless one of the naval units could be... Now, is this a carrier? It is. Oh. So these 2 could be activated. Come down to Wat Batong. That 8 strength carrier could be involved in the attack here. Right, okay, we still need another 43. Oh dear. This is tricky. I don't know. Okay, let me pause and kind of think it through a bit. Yeah, still kind of struggling with this, and I'm not sure what. For me to achieve the 51 points of damage that I need to go ahead with this move on Chawatchap, my guess would be like, that's 12, 13, that's 25, 37, 45, and maybe one of these guys. Well, that guy on top would be 6, so that's 51. And that's assuming... Yeah, it looks like all they could be activated by Combined Fleet. But that's 5 naval units. So... So then, activate units of the target, 3, 4... Yeah, so that would be 5 activations, leaving us only 1. But I feel like this is what we need to do first. I think we need to achieve that first, and we're just not going to have activations left to do anything else. The only thing we could do on top of that is activate, say, either this and amphibiously assault into Banjarmasin. And unfortunately, this isn't a port though. And if we amphibiously assault into Talotwatong, although we did say we could go along with that naval unit, that could be part of the... Yeah, and it wouldn't cost an ASP and all that, and that also would be attacking... Yeah, Chawatchap. Because I think my priority's got to be to bring the 51 points of strength along. Because looking at the task force composition here, activate units for the target, we need to bring along the damage if we can, it says, if we can, but we could, with activation of go, just. And then I says, are there enough activations to fulfill the battle support criteria? Well, yes, there are. And then Jai would say, has the damage level for the target been achieved? And if we did it that way, it would be a yes. I did look at the thought that if we didn't do all that, and we only brought so much strength along, it would be a no, and then we'd be rolling 1d10 to maybe just move the units in. Or this one, which is, I looked in about execute air naval attack against weakest stack, which then just means try and pick something off, I think. So... Yeah. Right. You're going to get bogged down in here again, Grant, I think. So, I'm going to go with this thinking about, my priority is still to remove the AZOI over Abda and try and achieve an AZOI myself over Abda. I'm not going to shut off supply though, because I cannot have both these taken. I don't think. Not if I'm bringing all the strength that's required for this. So here's my thinking of it then. So we're going to use Combined Fleet, like we said. We get 3 efficiency rating and 3 from the OC. Activate 6 units. I'm going to activate these 2. That's 25. That one, that's 37. I'm going to activate these two. That would be 45 strength. And I'm obviously activating that unit as well. And, well, that is exactly 51. So why not just keep it to a minimum? And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all my activations. And then we're going to move all these three guys. Oops. Down into White Chap. And just leaving him where he is. It's 15 movement. So just check this guy again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah. So, yeah. So they're all within range. They could all trace supply to the HQ and all be activated by the HQ. Yeah, there's not any issues there. So these two are coming down to here. This guy's also joining the party. These, well, actually, we'll leave that to last. Now, this is, this doesn't have to go into the battle hex, does it? And I talked before about there being a bonus to that, but I think that's when it comes to ground combat, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So there's not a real great need to have the unit in the hex. I'm not sure if it kind of matters or not. I dare say there could be times when it's probably better to sit at range. So we will just move him down. He's got a range of 3, so yeah, I'll just move him down to here. Right, I'll put him in there. There we go. So, and this is our battle hex, clearly. So, yeah, I was just wondering about the fact when we go to move this, right, we've got a control marker stuck to us there, somehow. So these are moving together, and they're going into Wat Baton. And, oh, wait a minute. I seem to remember reading something that this is going in here. These are both going in here together. It's an empty hex, but it's enemy controlled. And it's in a near zone of influence. So there will be a special reaction chance for that. Now, this is only battle hex, so the Zueho is attacking here as well. However, I seem to think that if the special reaction works and this becomes a battle hex, then the Zueho has to change and it actually has to have its battle in there, doesn't it? See, we're jumping into special reaction here where, well, actually, no, maybe you should look at that, Grant. Do we need to look at that? So, post-battle movement possible. DEI neutralization. I don't know. I mean, we're moving and well, hang on. What does special reaction matter here? Does it matter? Well, it does, because then they could actually have this as a... I'm just going to have to push on through this, I think, or we're going to be here forever. So a lot of this stuff needs to get out there, and hopefully somebody can watch it and please tell me something. Yeah. Let's look at where's the sequence of play on the other chart. So we've activated everything, we've moved everything, we've created our one battle hex, And so we're at kind of step 4 in the offensive phase. So reaction player may cancel offensive using a weather reaction. That can't happen. And we've not spent any ASPs because this is organic naval transport. I think that's right. Implements, yeah, that doesn't work. Step 6 is if special reaction is possible, reaction player may roll to attempt creating additional battle hexes via special reaction. If after this no battle hexes were declared nor created due to special reaction, reaction player may play any applicable attack reaction cards, then skip to 13 post battle movement. Well, I mean, let's see, 7.27. Hang on, I'll be back with you shortly. Yeah, so 7.27 tells you about how a special reaction works, and any, if an opposing ground unit ends its offensive move in an unoccupied reaction player controlled city, resource, port, or airfield hex that is within range of a reaction HQ. And in the reaction aircraft zone of influence, whether neutralised or not, in range of a reaction HQ. Well, yeah, I mean, surely. Okay, I might be just like making up rules here. But I'm wondering if this is a reaction HQ now that we've moved our units here. Because we've got a carrier here, so we've got an air zone of influence in this hex. And okay, we decided that it was still possible for this HQ to trace across land and here and then away. But while we've moved this carrier here, does that not air zone of influence into this hex and these hexes to stop him being able to trace supply out? I think so. So, okay, I've had things paused overnight there again. I'm just coming back to try and catch up to where I was. I've not got a clue where I am. So I was glancing back at the last bit, but the 2 bits of video footage I've got already are up to an hour and a half. So I thought what I need to do is cut the video here and then put this out as a part. And I know we're only halfway through this, doing what we're doing, but I need to look back on. I certainly need to look back on this last bit to find out what it is we decided to do, because, yeah, I mean we are trying to take Chawatchap, but yeah, I'm just the last bit I see myself talking about is the Riojo putting its zone of influence around the Dutch cruiser, stopping the supply trace from the Abdan Chawatchap, because as we eventually found out, which I wasn't thinking about at all at first, it can trace across the ground to a port and then trace across the sea from that port to get its supply. But if we put the Riojo here, well, in actual fact, oh no, maybe not got any carriers in here though, have we? No, these will not be carriers, yeah. Yeah, because it needs to be something that's going to exert a zone of influence in this hex. And that does. Now hold on, Grant. The air unit cancels that. The air unit cancels. No. Yeah, the air unit cancels it in this hex, but this stretches out to this hex. Hang on, could you not just go this way though? Well, you know what? It can't. Look at that. It can't trace out. And I've noticed myself, some of my moves and some of my traces and that, and I'm not paying attention to these unplayable hex sides, am I? So, in actual fact, you can't trace into this hex, in or out of this hex, or in or out of this hex side, or in or out of this hex side as well. So, you would have to trace either in this hex, or this hex side. And that they too wouldn't have the zone of influence cancelled out. Now, can he trace in here though? I think he can. But if he traces in there, yeah, where's he going though? How is he getting to a map edge hex if he goes that way? So if he traces his supply route into there, because it's this is cancelled out, this would be cancelled out, this would be cancelled out still, yeah. But he can't sneak up through here because there's a Japanese air unit there. Can't he just cut through here though? No, the Zueho's there. So the Zueho's not going to let him go up there to trace his supply. So the only way he would be able to do it is if he could come around here. I don't think that's going to be possible. This is where that the vassal module would really have helped. Just wondering if I should have been moving things about, opened up a vassal game and moved things about in it just to check this, because it would show you right away if there was a gap where it could trace supply through the AZOI. Because it would have to come around, and then could it come down here? Well, no, because of this. Oh, actually, is that still a carrier though? No, because we moved the carrier out of there, didn't we? So, you know, maybe it could trace down through here, and then around here, and yeah, and then once it gets down here, it could actually reach Australia, couldn't it? And the only one that stops it here is this air unit stretches into here, but we don't need to go near that, do we? And I think this was the point of this, obviously the blunder that I made was, not that hex, but Joe, Banjarmasin, Makassar was taking them to stop things like this from being able to be done, I think, you know, to have a big zone of influence network, as they called it, right throughout. So here's me started rabbiting on. I was just wanting to cut this video here. But you know what? I do need to. The video's going to end up being 2 hours long, and I've not really made a cut anywhere specific. So I'm going to go away and have a look at this. So I will cut this just now. But as I'm starting to think about it there, I'll maybe just go and have a look just now, because I've actually got some time to sit down and play. So I was hoping to do this, but I started staring at the map thinking, what am I doing? What am I trying to do here? So anyway, I'll cut it here, and we will get around to finishing this, what was it? Only the second Japanese card play. Okay guys, cheers.